So let's take a look at the region a little bit more closely. Gaza is a small strip of land with a stretch of just about 365 square kilometers. That's how tiny it is. 2.3 million Palestinians have been crammed into this area that has been described by many human rights activists as nothing less than an open-air prison. And these people have been living under a blockade, not just for the last 3-4 days, but since 2007, which means that Israel has been controlling pretty much every single thing that happens inside of the Gaza Strip. It controls who and what enters into the Gaza Strip. Now, before they were restricted, they have now been blocked out completely since the last 72 hours. Now, apart from this situation, the region also sits on a pretty unique network, and this is the network of tunnels. Israel refers to this as a threat of tunnels. Hamas operates through this vast underground city. Now, the Hamas group uses it to store weapons, to transport rocket launchers, and also to hide in bunkers, and it also operates its command centers out of these tunnels. Reports suggest that the access points to these tunnels are hidden. This is what the Israelis claim, that the access points into these tunnels open through schools, through mosques, through hospitals and other civilian infrastructure, which is why Israel claims that it is bombing each one of these civilian infrastructure buildings. A Washington Post has said that Hamas built more than 1,300 tunnels since 2007. The group did not invent this model. This was adopted from the Hezbollah, who developed a similar network in southern Lebanon. Now, to show you in detail, let's in fact get you this report from our correspondent Ghadi Francis. She had visited one of these tunnels back in 2013 to decode as to how the network functions. Take a look.
It is a 4-minute walk with the dangers of death any moment. Israel could bomb us here, or simply the tunnel might collapse. Why the tunnels? Because ever since Hamas Islamic Resistance was elected and given control over Gaza, Hamas's victory prompted sanctions by Israel, the United States and the European Union, each of which had placed the organization on its official list of terrorist groups. A series of sanctions that included power cuts, heavily restricted imports and border closures. These tunnels to Egypt remain the source of food, fuel, medicine, electronics, weapons and obviously people.
So the big question, of course, is this: how will these tunnels play a role in the war now? There's a lot of talk around Israel launching a ground invasion of Gaza. If that happens, there will be a huge number of casualties, probably on both sides. But Israel is hoping that this is something that could, of course, compel Hamas to change its strategies. We could see hand-to-hand combat, increased risk of traps, and also blurred boundaries between civilians and soldiers. That is the biggest fear. You could witness street fighting in some of the most densely populated neighborhoods. And this is where the Gaza tunnels will come into the picture. There is no doubt that Hamas knows its tunnels better than the Israelis do. Israel will need extensive intelligence to fight in this kind of a terrain, but there is no doubt that if it comes to this, Hamas could, of course, have an upper hand. But the casualties is something that is sending shivers down the spines of a lot of people and analysts who have been talking about why a ground invasion into Gaza would be so devastating. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.